It's week 10 of college football, and Hugh Freeze just opened up the quarterback battle yet again. Let's talk about it.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, boy the take on Twitter, here to talk to you about the latest Auburn athletics news as Auburn football back in the win column after taking down the Arkansas Razorbacks this past week. On to the next opponent, which is the Kentucky Wildcats, another bottom feeder of the SEC that hopefully we're not going to be talking about Auburn struggling to score against for another week in a row. Now, the big talking point for this week, and of course we'll get into the keys to this game in a second, the big talking point is, of course, the quarterback situation for Auburn going into this game. I don't think there should be a conversation around this. I think the decision is pretty simple, but I'll get to that in a second. So, what Auburn has done this season offensively has been nothing short of disappointing. There have been plays missed. There have been bad throws made. There have been pick sixes thrown to the worst defenses in college football. And, I look ahead to what we saw look back to what we saw against Arkansas, and a change was made. Were there points scored offensively, like in terms of touchdowns? No, there was not. But a spark was had. And something shifted in the right direction for Auburn going forward. Do we have a full sample size to go off here? Absolutely not. But did what we see give us enough to make an inference about where Auburn should go moving forward? And I think it has. Hugh Freeze went to his press conference yesterday and did not commit to a quarterback. He fully said, we're going to have another battle. You're going to split the reps again. What I think about that is that it's a stupid idea. Jackson Arnold has not been the guy this whole season. He has not been the guy who Auburn was promised to see. He's not been that 5-star plus quarterback who Hugh Freeze was going to fix in an offseason. He has not proven that. He's been a very, strong athlete whenever the run game is able to work under him. But other than that, when it comes to passing, he doesn't have it. And it's just weird to watch a quarterback who is so talented, and all he can do is just do that one scripted drive. And after that, the improvisation and the development throughout the game just completely goes out the window. So I'm looking ahead to this Kentucky game, and I think it would be a massive disservice to his offense to keep Ashton Daniels off to the side. I think in the short and small sample size we got of Ashton Daniels, he showed that he has more of a grip on this offense than what we've seen from Jackson Arnold throughout the entirety of the season. Jackson Arnold, again, has been absolutely disappointing. And it's safe to say that the lackluster abilities of what we've seen out of Jackson Arnold have led to a few of these losses that are on Auburn's resume right now. Again, Oklahoma, I'll give you the refs for Oklahoma. I've said this before. We can blame the refs for the Oklahoma game. Can't blame the refs for A&M. Cannot blame the refs for Georgia. You cannot blame the refs for Missouri. Is the officiating bad? Absolutely. Are they out to get Auburn? Who knows? But SEC officials suck in general. Auburn's offense has kept them out of games. And what we've seen thus far is Auburn's offense seemed to have worked a little bit better with Ashton Daniels as the starting quarterback. So, what do I expect to see from Auburn this week? I expect to see Ashton Daniels stepping forth as the starting quarterback, and he shall have that job for the rest of the season. And again, excuse me, something that came up in the press conference was the idea of potentially redshirting Ashton Daniels. And, you only get that if he doesn't play the 4 games of the year. And, he plays against Arkansas. What's left on Auburn's schedule? Kentucky, Vandy, Mercer, and Alabama. He's got 4 games left on the schedule anyways. The only real way is to sit him out for 2 games. I think it is the rules where 4 games and your red shirt is burned. So unless I'm misinterpreting the rules there, but if he sits out like the Mercer game, let Deuce Knight run the show from there. I desperately believe that Jackson Arnold did not show enough to fully earn back the chance to get the starting job. And after all the weeks seeing how close you are, and after all the weeks of watching your offense completely shut down after that first drive of the game, I mean, it's embarrassing. And it honestly feels like it should be a battle of who gets the second team reps between Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight. That's how I feel about the quarterback situation. I don't think it's this deep dive conversation needs to be had. I watched Auburn's offense. I got more interested in the game when Ashton Daniels went in. The game experience in and of itself grew extremely stale throughout these last 4 games in a row. It's okay. Well, Auburn gets a lead. I wonder if they'll be able to keep it. No. Auburn had a lead or a chance to take the lead in every single one of those losses, and they absolutely blew it. Georgia, you were up by 10. This game, you were up by 10. And then it was a 21-10 game. And then everything turned around once the offense started finding a semblance of an identity. And you actually have that with Ashton Daniels. You're able to run the ball better. Ashton Daniels is a much better runner of the football than Jackson Arnold is. He's a better athlete. And you kind of saw that a little bit. I mean, they adjust for it. And again, one thing that I loved about what I saw from him, and again, the short sample size, he wasn't a statue in the pocket. If he needed to, and again, this could be a bad thing to, later on down the line, but he's not going to sit there and let the defensive line get in and sack him. And even then, one of the sacks that he took out of I think he did end up taking one. It should have been a targeting call. But he's scrambling out of the pocket and looking down the field, trying to make a play with the football. That's not something we were getting with Jackson Arnold. So I think that Auburn should go into this week not splitting reps, despite what Hugh Freeze said. I don't think that Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels is even a competition. It should be Ashton the rest of the way. Red shirt or not, Ashton Daniels has, in my mind, done enough in SEC play to keep his job as the starting quarterback. And again, I look back to the offseason, I just don't think he was ever given a true chance to even get the job in the first place. His resume is better, and he didn't get the job. That's what it felt like because of the favorites or NIL obligations there. Ashton Daniels should be starting for Auburn football against Kentucky. Ashton Daniels should start versus Vanderbilt. Should start versus Mercer. Should start versus Alabama. And, if you beat Kentucky, you beat Mercer, Ashton Daniels starting that bowl game. He's done enough to prove that he can run this offense. And the offense has done enough to prove that they want to play with Ashton Daniels. Plays were made. That deep ball to Eric Singleton, only a ball that he could catch, and one-on-one coverage, perfectly thrown ball straight to the hands of Eric Singleton. That's what Auburn's offense should look like, as well as running the football. But that's my 2 cents in the quarterback battle. Of course, the Tuesday show is all about the keys to success for Auburn to win this game on Saturday. So we're going to get to that. But just let me know in the comment section below, who do you think should start at quarterback for the Auburn Tigers? Do you think it should be Jackson Arnold, or do you think it should be Ashton Daniels? Know what you think in the comment section below. Of course, leave your takes on the matter as well as we get ready to get into the 5 keys to success. And of course, I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. I mean, this was one of mine anyways. I mean, decide on your quarterback early. And that goes into this week. If you're splitting reps, you're not going to be able to do that for the whole week. You really only have like 4.5 days of practice. throughout the week. You can't just go throughout the entirety of it, splitting the reps. That's not how that works. You need to pick your guy by, I would say, today or tomorrow, and then that's the guy you need to rock with for the remainder of the week. This constant changing of hands that Auburn has now had to experience twice in a row from last year and this year. And the worst part about it is this year is happening in week 10 of the season, which not good, not a good look. But it's where Auburn is now. You know, you sat there and you wasted 4 weeks of your season losing these games. And again, don't take this as me ignoring the fact that Hugh Freeze is still very much on the hot seat. You know, any of these losses can turn ugly, and out the door he goes. And Auburn has to navigate through what is a very toxic head coaching market right now, in terms of, you know, LSU and Florida and Penn State all looking for coaches. Auburn is going to have to be right there in the mix with all that. So it desperately feels like Auburn is going to try to avoid that opportunity to have to go through what would be a tumultuous head coaching search. But you need to pick a quarterback here. Kentucky's defense isn't bad in the sense of they're like reverse Arkansas, right? Their defense is going to can make you make mistakes and they can shut you down, but their offense can't score on you. You know, it's a strength versus weakness and a strength versus weakness on both sides. Auburn, good defensive, or absolutely amazing defensively. Kentucky, very bad offensively. And again, on the other side, Auburn, not so great offensively. Kentucky is pretty good defensively. So deciding on your quarterback helps you determine that game plan and decides how that game will go. Auburn should be able to take care of business in this one, but it's up to them to do that. So that's my first key. Up next, protecting the football. Again, back-to-back weeks where Auburn has thrown an interception. And again, that one interception turned into a pick six. You cannot have that going throughout this game. Kentucky can make you make mistakes. Their defense is built for that. Mark Stoops, and what he lacks as a head coach, he makes up for him being a defensive guy. You know, Georgia tends to always struggle versus Kentucky. It's always been the case ever since Stoops and Smart have been battling it out. That's always been like the worst game on the schedule for Georgia. Kentucky can find ways to mess up Auburn's game, and you can't let them do that. Auburn cannot afford any turnovers going forward. You have to play perfect offensive football to continue on building to your win column in this one. You are 2 games out from being bowl eligible. You're 4 games out from getting to where you set out to be this year, which is 8-4, and to beat Vanderbilt and to beat Alabama. Your offense is going to have to maintain stability and not turn over the football. In order to win those games, in order to reach your goals, you have to keep the football in the hands of your offense at all times. Number 3, continue to play your brand of defense. Xavier Atkins, co-defensive player of the week, should have got defensive player of the week. Dude was an absolute nightmare to play against, and he has been for any offensive player. Rayshawn Pleasant had a coming out party as a corner, not as a kick returner in this game. Auburn's defense was on fire. You know, if you continue to force teams into those third down and longs, which if you do that with Kentucky, they're going to make mistakes. You know, there's been the starting quarterback for Kentucky, and I'm blanking on his name right now. You know, he has a lot of picks. I think it's like 9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Auburn can continue to force turnovers against Kentucky. You know, they're going to want to run the football, but they're going to try to pass the ball because they know that they can't just be a one-trick pony against Auburn's defense. They're going to try to throw the ball down the field. It's been a weakness of Auburn's defense all year long. Kendrick Law is a pretty dang good wide receiver when he gets the ball in his hands. So Auburn's got to account for that and make sure they're able to shut down Kentucky, as they've done with every team thus far. I mean, Auburn's defense still has not given up more than 20 points in a game in SEC play. So, and of course, Arkansas scored 24. Their offense didn't score 24. Their defense scored the 7 for them. So the defense just keeps playing the way they are. Auburn will be just fine in this one. This game could end 3-0 for all I care. But Auburn would still come out on top. Up next, lean on the run game and McPherson's leg if needed. That was something we saw last game. Jeremiah Cobb is now second in the SEC in rushing yards, right behind Ahmad Hardy. Been having a phenomenal season now that he is the lead back. Last game had 153 yards, had 28 carries, which is absolutely crazy. Averaged 5.5 yards per carry. And, he won't have to be, that true powerhouse as much. He still will, and he's still going to get the bulk of the carries. But Hugh Freeze had mentioned that Durell Robinson is on his way back, which, you're still going to get your very much fair share of Jeremiah Cobb. But you're also going to be able to see more Durell Robinson and get more breaks from Cobb. That way you get to see more of his explosiveness. And I think Omar Mapson had some great plays whenever he was given the football, for sure, getting those yards. Got his first touchdown last week versus Missouri. So, but having Durell Robinson back is very nice for this offense. Getting a true number 2 back for Jeremiah Cobb. So love to see that. Of course, take the points when you can get them. Kentucky's defense is going to try to shut you down. If you get in field goal range, if McPherson is still feeling confident, tied Auburn's career record for field goals in a game with 6, tying, the one and only Legatron, Daniel Carlson, and of course scoring 19 points for the Tigers, including the PAT. If you are in field goal range, you need to take the points. Don't just try to throw away points because you want to get fancy. I even think Auburn wasted the Woody play for this game. That's besides the point. I desperately think that this game is a big time momentum swing for Auburn going forward. Auburn has more talent than Vanderbilt does. It's just the facts in the pudding. But you have to continue to, find out who you are offensively, continue to play who you are defensively, and, build a streak. 2 wins is on a streak, but you'll have to do that in order not to only win this week, but win next week as well. And it's worth mentioning, he is very hopeful for Cam Coleman. I think he said Sunday he was not feeling too hot. Yesterday he was feeling better. But I think this will be a good week to kind of get back to your bread and butter, and that's running the football. But you still have Eric Singleton, you still got Perry, you still got Malcolm, so all those guys who still catch the football and can be excellent playmakers for you if Cam Coleman needs a game off. Which I want Cam Coleman fully healthy later on in the year for the biggest game of the season for Hugh Freeze, biggest game of his career right now, I would say, in this year's Iron Bowl. But yeah, you got to get your points when you can, and you got to utilize Jeremiah Cobb. He has been awesome this season. Again, over 700 yards, second in the SEC. Auburn feels right back to where they used to be, being one of those dominant rushing offenses in the SEC. So very awesome to see regardless. Last key for success for the Auburn Tigers: finish strong in critical moments. Now, this is something that Auburn has been struggling with all year long because they just don't finish games. It is an issue that Auburn has had all season, is their inability to keep a lead, to build on their leads, and to get back in the games. You look at Georgia, you had a 10-0 lead and you lost it. Look at Arkansas, you had a 10-0 lead and you lost it. Look at Missouri, you had a 10-0 lead and you lost it. You just keep getting these leads, and then you keep falling off after the third and fourth drives. You just aren't able to get your momentum back. You have to get that. You have to figure that out. It is too late in the year for me to be talking about how Auburn cannot play offense after the scripted drives of the game. As an offensive mastermind coach, self-proclaimed or not, you have to be able to develop your game throughout a game. You cannot just have this one drive planned out and then just kind of wing it for the rest of the game. And of course, that's what coaching is winging it. You have a scripted drive, and then after that, you're just making plays based off what you see. But you're not making plays off of what you see. And again, it might be a personnel issue at times, but I mean, you have to look at the coaches for a lot of this. And again, that's something that that we've just not really seen thus far this season, is that ability to develop mid-game. And I think that making the proper changes can help alleviate those issues and help solve the problems that have been going on with Auburn's offense. But those are my keys. I think those are the biggest takeaways I got from Auburn. You need to pick your quarterback, and you pick him early. Protect the football, continue to run the football, keep playing defense like you are. Good God, this defense is so fun to watch. Auburn has a championship caliber defense. Just need the offense to even be average. If the offense was just average, good Lord, it's like LSU in whatever year that was, like 2-3 years ago. They were to win the national championship. Their defense was just top 50. Auburn's offense, if they were just top 50, good Lord, we'd be talking about an undefeated season right now. That is how crazy Auburn's defense has been. Is they could lift up such a mediocre offense, and they have been. If Auburn's defense was not as good as they were, Auburn would not have beaten Arkansas. They wouldn't have beaten Baylor, and there'd be a lot of different things we're talking about right now, and they're probably looking for a coach at this very moment. So, the defense continues to impress in the best way possible. But it's going to do it for the football half of today's episode. Of course, we're going to quick little break. Other side of this break, talking about some Auburn basketball, giving my ceiling and my floor for Stephen Pearl's first year as the head coach over there at the Jungle and Neville Arena. But before we go, just let y'all know, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Of course, we're on the road to 2,000 subscribers now. So thank you all that have subscribed to the channel already, liked the video, commented, letting me know, who do you want starting for Auburn this Saturday versus Kentucky? Are you siding with Jackson Arnold? Are you siding with Ashton Daniels? Are you a wild card and you're going with Deuce Knight? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, don't forget to follow us on social media platforms, every single one of them as well, at the College Loop. We're going to quick little break. Other side of this break, I got the ceiling and the floor for Auburn basketball this year. So stay tuned, and we're going to be right back.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes, looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your College Loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, it's visible on thewarreport.com. Don't forget to go to the shop. Check out the very own College Loop merch today. Of course, it's on Watch for the channel. The best way to support the channel is, of course, by liking the video, by commenting on the video. Let me know who you want starting at quarterback for the Auburn Tigers. And, of course, by subscribing to the YouTube, helping us get to 2,000 subscribers. Thank you all who've already supported the channel. Love every single 1,060 y'all out there that have already subscribed to us over here at the College Loop. So, as we get ready, Auburn basketball just a week away from being back in the regular season. No exhibition game versus Oklahoma State, which I didn't get a chance to talk about on the show because midway through football season, Auburn did end up losing that game in overtime. But, I mean, Oklahoma State looks like a pretty good team. Auburn has things to work on, but I think overall they are also a very good very good basketball team as well. So we're going to go ahead and start previewing that as we're a week out from it. So I'm going to go and give my stat leaders first, who I'm predicting to lead Auburn in every statistical category, from points, rebounds, blocks, and assists. I didn't do three-point percentage. I think that it's going to be kind of wonky guessing that, but I think just based off the points leader, you can probably assume how I'm going to go with that. Just overall offensive MVP, I'm going to give it to Keyshawn Hall. I think he's going to be Auburn's points leader, and I think he's also going to be Auburn's rebounds leader. I think he's going to be your nice replacement from Jani Broome. I think he adds a level offensively, again, defensively, you're going to really miss Janai Broom. But I think offensively, Keyshawn Hall is able to kind of elevate you in that manner. Getting a true guy who can shoot from the wing and also get boards as well, which was big time. Scored 26 points in that in the exhibition game and really opened up some eyes. I have Keyshawn Hall in Auburn's points per game leader, also the rebounds per game leader. Which means I think Tahad is right there behind him. I think Tahad is going to be an absolute playmaker for Auburn. He's the leader of the team, being the point guard. But I have Tahad leading Auburn in assists. I think that's where you're going to see a lot of these points scored in this game or during the season. I think you're going to see a lot of Elijah Freeman get some looks. Kevin Overton, all of these guys are going to get some buckets. And they're going to be at the hands of Tahad Pettiford running this team as he does. Sorry, working on getting a haircut. My scalp's a little itchy. Tahad Pettiford assists per game. My blocks per game leader, I got Keyshawn Murphy, the transfer out of Mississippi State. I think he is going to be legit in the paint for Auburn. Very physical defensive player who can also put up some points as well. Again, this Auburn offense, it should still be pretty good. I think the defense just needs to pick it up a little bit, and this team is going to be a very good basketball team. They're deep. They're deep. Caden Magwood had a great showing throughout practices. There's just a lot of guys on this team that are going to ball out. I mean, even Blake Mushalek out there was balling for the Tigers. So it's going to be a very fun season. Those are my stat leaders. My ceiling for this year, I'm not going to shoot for the stars. I'm going to say this is a Sweet 16 team. I think that the roster is built for a run. Right now, my ceiling is Sweet 16. I was debating Elite 8, but I'm going to go Sweet 16 as the ceiling. My floor is a first-round exit. I think no matter what, this team is it is a tournament team, which I mean the SEC only had one or two teams not make it last year. This Auburn basketball team is still very good. I think Stephen Pearl's going to have a very successful first year as Auburn's head basketball coach. But again, I expect there to be some growing pains along the way. But I expect a big season out of a lot of these guys. I think Tahad is going to get drafted in the next NBA draft. I think you're going to see a lot of these guys go pro, and then it'll be up to Stephen Pearl to kind of keep reloading the program as we go. He already got a 4-star. And Caleb Williams. So that was a big time recruit for him to pick up, his first recruit as the head coach, which is big time. But I just can't wait to watch this team play. First game versus Bethune-Cookman. We'll preview it beforehand. I think we'll talk about it probably on the Sunday edition of the College Loop. Talk after the post game show. So freaking hyped up for Auburn basketball being back. So can't wait for that. But of course, that's going to be for us over here at the College Loop Podcast. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Who is your pick for the starting quarterback for the Auburn Tigers against Kentucky? Go ahead and give me your predictions. Who's going to be Auburn's points leader this year for Auburn basketball? Who's going to lead Auburn in rebounds as well? If you think it's Keyshawn Hall, let me know why. If you think it's going to be Tahad Pettiford, I'm not going to be upset with you for thinking that either. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I thought about going Elijah Freeman because I just wanted to go with the wild card pick there, but I think he made a lot of great things happen versus Oklahoma State. But of course, that's going to do it for us over here at the College League Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, able to take on Twitter. It's at YABOY the Tank. I'm on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, at DYLRCK. And of course, if I'm around the College League Podcast, if you like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to support us over here right here on YouTube, liking the video, commenting your pick for Auburn's quarterback, and of course, by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thank you all for subscribed already. Thank you everyone who has supported us across all platforms. But of course, that being said, thanks for tuning in yet again to the Solomon College League Podcast. And as always, War Eagle.